Hello friends, this is the third video in continuation with last one, that is second video, in which we discussed about this magnetic loading and electric loading, and then we also seen what is specific magnetic loading and specific electric loading. Now in continuation with that, today we see the output equation of three-phase induction motor, and then we will see the effect of change in the value of specific magnetic loading and electric loading on the main dimension of our induction motor. So see friends, these are the very commonly used abbreviations during the derivation of our output equation of three-phase induction motor. I think no need to explain this terminology, which all of you are well aware about this terminology. VPH, phase voltage; ZPH, number of conductors per phase; NS, synchronous speed; small ns, synchronous speed in RPS; TPH, number of turns per phase; IPH, phase current, and all these factors are known to us. So just look for these abbreviations, and nothing is new for anyone. So now we see the derivation for output equation of an induction motor. Now we know generally for any induction motor, the specifications are either given in kilowatt or sometimes it may be given in the terms of horsepower. So if it is given in the horsepower, very first we need to convert it into watt or kilowatt. So here in the derivation, I consider it is in kilowatt, and if it is in HP, so just convert horsepower into kilowatt by multiplying it with 0.746, because we know 1 horsepower equal to 746 watt. So if you multiply horsepower rating by 0.746, then it get converts into kilowatt. That is a very simple equation. Then what are the rating of motor? That is the output of your induction motor. So we know it. Now to get this one, so output is, we know it is equal to the input of your motor multiplied by its efficiency. And input to the motor, as we know, motor converts electrical power into mechanical one. So which are the electrical parameter that is on the input side. So we take here the input to the motor, which we can easily derive. So input to the motor is equal to, it is in the electrical form, see, and it is equal to VPH, that is the per phase voltage, into IPH into cos phi, that is the power factor. So this will give you the input power, and M stands for number of phases. So and this 10 raised to minus 3 is just to convert watt into kilowatt. Okay, then say if your motor is a three phase, and generally the motors are three phase are there. So for three phase, input to motor is equal to 3 into VPH into IPH into cos phi into 10 raised to minus 3, and unit is kilowatt. Now we know voltage per phase which we are applied to the induction motor is equal to, approximately equal to, the induced EMF in your armature winding per phase, that is VPH is equal to EPH. So that's why, and we know what is the equation of induced EMF in the armature winding. So it is given by 4.44 into frequency into flux per pole into number of turns per phase into kW. kW means say it's a winding factor. And what is winding factor? Winding factor is equal to, say, how we are going to calculate it? It is actually the product of two separate factor, that is Kp, that is a pitch factor, multiply by Kd, that is a distribution factor. So depends upon our winding design whether it is a full pitch or short pitch. Accordingly this Kp pitch factor we can calculate, So it is, formula is Kp is equal to cosine of angle alpha by 2, where alpha is the angle by which we short pitch the windings. Then Kd is a distribution factor, and in our rotating machine our winding is always distributed type. So for that, according to the say number of slots, how many number of slots are there, number of pole for which it is designed, so we have to calculate the Kd. And what is the formula for Kd? It is equal to sine of m beta by 2 upon m into sine of beta by 2. So we can calculate the distribution factor, and then take the product of these two, we will get a complete winding factor. So this one. Then see, in this case, so number of turns in the winding per phase is equal to total, say, number of conductors per phase divided by 2, because we know one turn consists of two conductors. So just here in this step we replace number of turns by number of, say, conductors in the winding per phase divided by 2. So that's why 4.44 divided by 2, it becomes a 2.22 F into flux into ZPH into winding factor. Now then see, we know what is the frequency in terms of speed. So in terms of speed, if you find the equation of frequency, say, then what is the equation of frequency? F equal to number of poles into speed in RPS, synchronous speed in RPS, upon 2. So this is the equation for frequency. And from where it comes, say, we know the synchronous speed equation, ns equal to 2 times of frequency by number of poles. So from the same equation here we calculate frequency, and then we put this value in the equation. So here now in this equation of input to motor, if I put it, say, input to motor, if I put that values, then we will get this equation. So 3, that is 3 stand for number of phases. Then VPH is get replaced by EPH, and EPH is get replaced by this one, that is 2.22 F into fluxes into ZF into KW into F. Instead of F I will put P into NS by 2. Then see here, instead of input, if I take the output, because we have to derive the output equation, so it is relation between input and output. Output equal to input multiply by efficiency. So in this equation I use this efficiency term additionally. Then it is power factor cos phi and 10 raised to minus 3, just to convert your watt into kilowatt. Now see here, in this equation I just again rewrite it. Say, just these three I shifted here, and this p and phi I put together. So this 2 I divided 2.22 by this 2, so it becomes a 1.11. So 1.11 p and this phi I put together, so that combinedly they represent, this P into phi represent the total magnetic loading. Similarly, this 3, this Z, PH and IPH I put together, because this product of 3 types of IPH into ZPH, it represents your total electric loading. Then this NS is the speed in synchronous in RPS, this KW is the winding factor, this is efficiency, this is power factor, and so on. So this is the output equation. Now see, we know how to specific magnetic loading and specific electric loading. So initially, we know we have to select the proper value of this specific electric and magnetic loading. So in terms of specific electric loading and specific magnetic loading, we have to write down it for the total loading. So total magnetic loading is equal to specific magnetic loading multiplied by its area. Similarly, total electric loading equal to specific electric loading multiplied by your total armature length. So just we put this value in the equation, and we will get output of motor is equal to 1.11 into B average into pi dl into say ampere conductor, that is your specific magnetic electric loading, into pi d, then ns speed as it is, kw as it is, efficiency as it is, and power factor as it is. Then see, we again bifurcate this and put all constant parameters together. So if I put that constant parameter together, so these all are the constant. See this one 1.11 into pi square, this pi and this pi square, into this b average, because it's a specific magnetic loading and once we select it, it remains same. Then AC specific electric loading, winding factor, efficiency and power factor, which we already assumed certain values at the initially, then 10 raised to minus 3. Then this and L are the main dimension. So it means if we select the same value of specific electric loading, magnetic loading, then for that value, product of this d square L is remains same. Say this ns we cannot change, it depends upon the requirement of speed of our induction motor, so it will depends upon that, and accordingly we have to select the number of poles for which we have to design our armature winding. So 1.11 into pi square, it becomes 11, and combinedly this factor we call as output coefficient of our induction motor, output coefficient. So combined, and it get represented by C0. So our output equation of induction motor becomes output Q is equal to C0, which represents your output coefficient, into square of D into L into NS, that is the output equation of our induction motor in kilowatt. So this is the output equation. Now you see here what is the effect of our selection of specific loading. Once you get it, for any specification of our induction motor, let it suppose I want to design a 10 horsepower induction motor. So corresponding to 10 horsepower, from standard design handbook, I have to refer it. During the design, I have to check what is the approximate efficiency and power factor for 10 HP motor, that I considered to calculate the main dimensions, to calculate first the output coefficient and accordingly the main dimensions of our induction motor. So I put that value of power factor and efficiency from the standard handbooks. So then once you calculate that the, then second step is I have to select proper value of B average and AC, that is specific magnetic loading and electric loading, and then I calculate a C0. Once I calculate this C0, then NS is known to us because it's a specification given to us. So then for any rating, power rating, I will get the product of D square L, that is a product of square of diameter and length. Now see, suppose I am going to select the higher values of my specific loading, that is B average or say AC. We consider one by one. So if I increase the specific loading, then what is the effect on C0? C0, that output coefficient is going to increase. If I increase both, if I increase any one out of these two, then C0 output coefficient is going to increases, and as C0 is going to increases, what is the effect on our dimension, main dimension D and L? So for the same rating motor, for same Q, if C0 is increases, then there is a decrease in the value of either D or L. That means say any one of the main two dimension is going to decreases, and that's why it is when we are going to increase the value of specific magnetic loading or electric loading, what advantages we are getting, our size of motor is going to decreases. So that is one of the advantage we are getting. And reverse case happen if I going to decrease or if I going to select the values on the lower side. So that is the direct effect we can notice from this output equation. So if we consider only this thing, then obviously there is always beneficial to select higher and higher values of specific magnetic loading and electric loading. But see, this is not a case. We also required, if the advantages is there to become a size of motor compact and compact, but also at the same time we have to see, is there any adverse effect of selecting higher values of specific loading, that also we have to study. So see what will happen if I select the values of specific loading on the higher side. On the higher side, if I select it, then what are the advantages we are getting? Size of the machine is get reduced. Okay. And once the size of the machine is get reduced, means less material is required. So material cost is get reduced, means our overall cost of the machine is get decreases. That is another advantages we are getting. And third advantage what we are getting of selecting higher value of specific magnetic loading is overload capacity is get increases. The overload capacity of our motor is get increases, and that's why say this is a deciding one of the deciding parameter. If your motor which we are going to design, if it needs to operate or needs to use for certain application where overload capacity requirement is higher, then we have to select the specific magnetic loading on the higher side. So on the higher side, now at the same time these all are the advantages we are getting, but see, is there any adverse effect? So adverse effect are also there when we are selecting the specific magnetic loading on the higher side. Then what is the limitation? Then it will affect as the flux densities get increases, it will tends to increase our iron losses, and as iron losses are get increases, so it will affect the flux, say it will affect the efficiency of our motor. Secondly, as the flux density is much more, to establish that higher flux density we need more magnetizing force, we need more mmf to be generated, and to generate more mmf, so our machine, our motor will draw more magnetizing current from the source, and that's why the requirement of that magnetizing current is much more. And because of higher magnetizing current, our operating power factor of our motor is get becomes a poor, it becomes a decreases. So that are the limitations of using the higher value of flux density. So as per the thumb rule, so generally, say during the design of induction motor, the flux density which we select is used in between 0.35 to zero point 0.6, or in some special cases where overload capacity requirement is much higher, then we may extend it up to 0.65 only. So that is the range, and again in between that, so for general purpose motor we keep it on the lower side, means around zero point 0.4 or up maximum up to 0.45, so that we will get a good efficiency and its good operating power factor. So this is how the specific magnetic loading will affect the performance of our induction motor. Now, similarly, there is the effect of specific electric loading is also there. If I increase specific electric loading, either the number of conductors are get increases or the current in the winding is get increases, and in both the cases, so if my electric loading is get increases, specific electric loading is get increases, then it will tends to increase the copper losses in my motor, and if copper losses are get increases, it will affect the efficiency, means say it will tend to decrease the efficiency of my motor. First disadvantages. Second disadvantages is because of increase in the losses, temperature rise, more temperature rise is there, and that's why say we need to provide a comparatively more cooling system, which for which we have to pay extra during the manufacturing cost. Second factor that will affect our selection of loading, electric loading, is our voltage level. If your voltage level of a motor is it increases, then we need to decrease the value of specific electric loading. And third factor, that is overload capacity. Overload capacity is get decreases with high value of specific electric loading. So these factors we have to be considered, and accordingly we have to select proper values of specific electric loading as well as specific magnetic loading. The range for specific magnetic loading is say around 0.35 to zero point 0.6 Tesla. Similarly, for electric loading, it is from 5,000 to 45,000 ampere conductor per meter. So this is about the say output equation, and from output equation how it will help us to evaluate the effect of selection of this specific electric and magnetic loading, say specific electric and magnetic loading on the main dimension and on the performance parameter, how it will get affect, so that we have analyzed. So hope all of you understood the derivation of output equation of induction motor, as well as which are the different parameters which we need to consider while selecting specific electric loading as well as specific magnetic loading, and what are the advantages, what are the limitations of using higher values of specific load electric loading as well as specific magnetic loading, that you understood. So in the next video we see how to differentiate, how to separate out these two main dimension D and L from the output equation of induction motor, that we'll see in the next video. So thank you for